Welcome again to Art Now Media Baku Briefs, communicating impact for climate, nature, people, and development. New day, new inspirations. We bring you freshest content live from Baku, hosting changemakers from across the world, from their communities, and getting to learn about the inspiring work they're part of and how this is changing the communities, transforming the climate systems, and taking action against the changing crisis in the communities. And joining me today is the one and only Oko Pius. I hope I pronounced that well.
Actually, you got the pronunciation correct.
Amazing that I think I'm a true son of the African soil. Do you mind maybe walking us down the lane? Like, who is Pius? What do you do? Where do you come from?
Okay, Pius is a climate change campaigner from Nigeria. And I come from a remote village called Bekwara. Yes, in Cross River, which is known as the tourist hub for Nigeria, with a lot of at least 50% of the Nigerian forest is found there. So it's a full biodiversity hub, for Africa in a large. Okay, so I work with Green Faith Africa as the program manager, and at Green Faith, what we do is that we use the lens of the faith community and faith leaders to navigate through and lobby for climate justice, not only in Africa, but across the globe. And what we do is that, one, we campaign strongly to stop new fossil fuel exploration in Africa, and also stop related finances that goes to fossil fuel. Also, we campaign for accelerating of renewable energy or clean energy in Africa as a way forward, as well as also champion the campaign for full compensation for communities whom have been destroyed, or will I say have been affected or hurt by the impact of oil extractives and exploration across Africa. So we walk across from the East Africa, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, also DRC, down to West Africa, Ghana, and also Nigeria, which is also the hub of fossil fuel, let's say, oil exploration in Africa. Thank you.
Amazing, and that's quite a big portfolio you guys are running in Africa and indeed across the world. As a program manager, Pius, you are here at COP, right? And it's been dubbed the finance COP. There are many competing interests, right, from fossil fuels and energy sector to real finance for adaptation, and talked about reparation for communities. Why are you at COP first, and how are you seeing these issues playing out? Like, are you people being listened to? Are they even recognizing the faith diplomacy? Are they ready to lead on just transition for Africa?
I think one is that we are at a critical juncture where we can no longer ignore the impacts climate change has caused across the globe, and also Africa to be particular. And for me, coming from an oil exploring country, a country that has explored oil for over 60 years, and is still dubbed the poverty capital of the world, with over 100 million people having no access to electricity. To talk of clean cooking is also another angle to that. And also a country where oil spill has degraded the environment, led to food insecurity, conflict, displacement. So I think one is that I have the moral obligation to speak or to have my voice heard for the vulnerable communities. And that is the reason why I'm here at COP. And being dubbed a finance COP is also very important that the faith voice is being heard because of the sacred nature of our faith, because it is also known that about 70% of the world population are people of faith. And so it beckoned on us morally that the faith community must be heard. And so that is the reason why we are here at COP. And like we say, Finance COP, if you channel the finance properly, which I think the faith community has that mandate, because it's also an arm that is respected, or let's say an area that is respected, with faith leaders being trusted globally, then that would go a long way. But in terms of also the way the COP has gone so far, for us, it's still a big concern, especially with regards to the term Finance COP, and we are not yet seeing the finance. Like we say, or with statistics, the world needs about $5 trillion to meet up climate, or will I say to take climate action further in terms of mitigating and also adapting to the impact already climate change has caused. And so if we're at COP and we're not talking in figures and we're still in rhetorics, like old stories, then we are not yet there. And that is why the faith community is coming in to speak truth to power in terms of ensuring that what needs to be said is being said, and is being said properly and right. And because the faith also, or the churches or the mosques or the faith worship centers is seen as the first point of call for disasters. So if that's the first point of call, then the first point of call needs to be listened to. And that is why we are here. And we're also championing that the $1 trillion should come in, and should also come in not as loan, like the usual scenario or business as usual, but now as grants, so that community will also have access actually to this funding to support them in mitigating and adapting. And if you also permit me to proceed further to give you a scenario of what is happening in Africa here. Now I'll take just some lens of the impact so far. Now in East Africa, a lot is happening with the issue of drought, where erratic rainfalls have also led to farmers having issues because their lands are drying up and they don't have much needed rain, because it's rain-dependent farming for smallholder farmers. And so they don't have much rain, and they don't have the capacity to even proceed, or let's say advance into irrigation farming. That is one situation here. And if you look at the flip side of it also, still East Africa, from Uganda to Tanzania, with the issue of the ECOP or exploration. So we are calling and saying, why are you not supporting agriculture that is the mainstay of these people or their livelihood option for over years? And then you're advancing into what is not sustainable, which is the oil exploration. And now this oil exploration is coming with a lot of havoc. One is that communities have been displaced in this area. Forests have been destroyed, which now is that biodiversity is also being impacted or affected. Also, farmlands are being destroyed. People are leaving their ancestral homes without proper compensation. That is the reality of what is happening. Now, if you leave East Africa and go to West Africa, for example, in Ghana, the Ghana Gas and some other companies are there. A lot of gas flaring, where soot is also the cause of the day for people breathing in. And this is leading to a lot of health impact, because the hydrocarbons that are being taken in are not sustainable for the body system to operate with. And so this is leading to a lot of respiratory diseases in this area. You move down to the Niger Delta in Nigeria, for example. Goi community is one of those communities that have been displaced for over 20 years. These people are now ravaging across other communities, leading to conflicts of land ownership and processes that's also not their cause, but the cause of those oil explorers because of Shell, Eni, and other BP, and also some other companies that are also coming in to explore some of these things. Then oil spills also has led to fishes and biodiversity being poisoned, where now the local fishermen or fisher folks can no longer fish in their rivers because spills have destroyed those biodiversity that are found within those areas. And they don't have the enablement or the facility to go further into the sea, maybe to even get some catch. And so they resort into harvesting what they see, and what they see is already embedded, or will I say, is now with oil, which are also hydrocarbons.
In their systems.
Yes, exactly, and in their systems. And they don't have alternatives, so they still have to eat all this. You see a local farmer harvesting cassava, for example, and also the plantain, which is found within this area. And you tear them open, you see also oil coming out of them, and they don't have alternative to feeding, so they have to still eat them. Their water, the local wells that they dig within, also comes with oil, which UNEP report in 2010, 2011 have reported that this water is polluted times 20 of the usual water level. But these people don't have alternatives, so they have to still resort into drinking some of this water. So this has resulted into cancers, into respiratory diseases, and it has also shortened the lifespan or life expectancy of these people. Now, in the Niger Delta, the life expectancy is between 41 to 50 years, which in terms of global standard is very low. And so I see someone working in 50s and already considered an ancestor because he has just little time to live with what is making the component of the body system. So these are terrible situations that for us who feel as faith community, if we don't speak truth to power, and if we don't have interventions where leaders or faith leaders speak to these issues, but just standing on this pulpit to preach the gospel, for example, alone, then we're also doing an injustice. And so for us, we stand up to say we train faith leaders, one, to have this basic knowledge of understanding of what some of these things are happening and also causing the havoc they're causing to our communities, so that while they are standing at the pulpit to preach, they also push out these messages or pass these messages properly, and also speak to our leaders, because most of these political elites go to them either in some causes where they are seeking for re-election, for example, to present their manifestos or to even get their blessings. And so we feel if we also ensure that the faith leaders have this understanding, then they could also speak to them. Not only that, but in terms of also policy change, so that they can redirect policy properly for a better energy source. Because if for over 50 years, for example, over 60 years in the Niger Delta, there have been oil exploration and still there's no study for power supply, then it's not the way to go. That's what we feel. And that is what the reality is. So we're saying that this need to change, the narrative need to change. So that is where we'll go with capacity building. We also go with advocacy, and we've also created some campaign initiatives which we are running with, and also bringing in the women which are more also touched in terms of this impact. So those is where we've been. Thank you.
Amazing. And Pius, I like how you sort of giving us this roadmap and the pathway that you as faith leaders, faith initiative have actually taken to even go to the grassroots, see the dire effects of this climate crisis, of oil spills and oil exploration in countries, seeing how cancerous it's actually ravaging on communities, that fish, dead fish, and you cut it open, it's oil running, that you go even to banana plantations and you're cutting it out, it's actually oil spilling, and that means bioaccumulation, biomagnification builds up, and this is cancerous to societies. The other thing is that finance needs to be done and implemented now, not as a loan, but as a grant. And he talked about the 5 trillion that needs to be trickled down, not as a favor, but actually a justice to the communities who've suffered more on this climate crisis. Perhaps you gave a very good case study about Nigeria for 60 years, exploring and exporting oil and still being, you said Africa's poverty capital, right?
Yeah.
And there is East Africa pipeline, you call it ECOP campaign, that is currently being planned for.
Yeah.
And I know Green Faith is big on this campaign. Maybe would you briefly talk to us about what are some of the initiatives that you're working to implement to see that this project is not, implemented?
Okay. One is that we've also gone into a study to understand the concepts of some of this fossil fuel project in Africa. And for the case of the ECOP, for example, in East Africa, so we understood that one is that the oil is not even explored for the people, but transported through the port of Tanga in Tanzania to the global north for their own use and not for African use even. And also in terms of the investment in quote profit, if I'll put it that way, it's only about 15% stake that the Ugandan government has in this project. So it means it's not for the people. That is one way. So for us, looking at some of these statistics and also knowing that this is profit over people, so we started what we call the Green Faith Circle, which is a grassroots mobilizing platform where we bring communities together, faith leaders together. One is that we try to also educate them to understand, looking at sharing stories from what has happened over years in some other countries, which is like an experience sharing platform, and then bring them to understand the impact of fossil fuel exploration in long term, and then also looking at the statistics of what is in for them, which is like nothing is in for them, and also that fossil fuel is a poisonous element, or will I say poisonous way to go, which will rather destroy it. And also hearing from them, from their stories, the grassroots stories of how for some of them they've been chased out of their ancestral lands. And then looking at all this, we try to now create ownership of them speaking to the issue themselves, because we feel we can't speak for them. And that is where the issue is, that one is that you have to create ownership. And so since we can't speak to them, we'll try to also educate them and also let them see some other side of it, which is now the renewable energy system, or will I say the renewable energy way of saying, if we rather invest in renewable energy with the abundance sun that we have in Africa, or the wind, for example, then it will be more cleaner, safer for the environment, and also better for the people. And so that is where we use this Green Faith Circle to lead campaigns. So the other aspect is that we also visit our top faith leaders or high faith leaders to also speak to them on some of these issues, so that they too will add their voice by one, building their capacity, and also making them part of our champions in terms of speaking, because at the policy level they also have a stake. And so we feel if they too speak to these issues of policy, like the NDC that has been ongoing review across the globe, needed to be submitted next year. And so we feel faith leaders can also add their voice to it by reshaping our policies towards a more cleaner energy source that will benefit the community. Not only that, in terms of also finance, or if the policies are right, then also the finance also need to be remodeled in such a way that also gets to the community, where they are the ones at the front line of the climate crisis, and not just things that end at the national level, where the communities still suffer. So those are some of the initiatives we've been coming up with, and in that term we'll call it eco-theology, which is that aspect of bringing nature and also the environment together, with also religious component or faith component into it, so that we also back it up with what the Holy Book says, and not just what we feel is coming up from, but what the Holy Book also says about the earth is sacred, how we need to also protect the earth, and that's why we're here as also human. So those are some of the initiatives we've been doing. Also, the same is happening in West Africa. For example, in Nigeria, we also have a community that is called the Sinking Community, which is Ayetoro. Ayetoro is sinking because over years, we've had this community used to be like the textile hub of Nigeria, and also soap making. There were fisher folks in these communities over time. But now, when Ajib, Total, and some other companies come in exploring oil, both onshore and offshore, the spillage led to the destruction of the mangroves that serves as the surge between the ocean and the people, or will I say the land. And now, because of this destruction, the sea level rise has also increased and then eating up part of those communities. And now they are displaced. And so for us, we're also trying to bring accountability measures by ensuring that we also make the faith leaders have an understanding and then be as a bridge between the community and also the government in terms of governance and policy. So those are some of the things we've been doing.
Amazing, and really taking accountabilities into your own realms and seeing how we can empower faith leaders to take the challenge, right, and the influence they have. Also organizing the faith circles to ensure that we mobilize at the grassroots and bring these information and facts to the community so that they can understand the risk they stand if these projects are to be implemented in their communities. And sometimes back, Pius, we had this decolonize campaign, and thankfully in 2019, even as a climate activist, we had sued the government and the investors, and we won the court case. And it appears that Amu Power is again challenging that court petition, and perhaps we're looking at this Lamu coal plant being implemented or revived. What are some of the activities that you're planning or you're currently engaging in to ensure that this project also does not see the light of the day?
Okay, thank you, I think, for bringing that up. For us, we've started what we call African Women of Faith in Energy, which is a platform that we're mobilizing African women to also speak truth to power and also advocate, which in one of our meetings in Ghana that we had earlier this year, so we brought women from the different African countries to now have what we call experience sharing, and also strategize on how they could front such will I say fight, because I call it fight now, since it's what is killing us. In this one of these, we had the women from Lamu also coming up to share their experience of how far they've gone and also what needs to be done. So this is one of that platform which we've also brought together, and that's particular is in the case of Lamu. And so for us, we're looking further. One is that we need to mobilize more to have more people on the ground, because United Front is more, will I say, it's more effective. And so we're trying to ensure that we have more women to be on ground to speak to these issues, and also to have support of also the legal system, so that when some of this injustice comes, then we'll have witnesses, one that will speak to this, and also continue with our campaign in terms of mobilizing grassroots to also challenge these injustices by having figures and also facts on the ground. So that is one thing we've been doing also. And another aspect is that we've been also reviewing our country's energy policies to see what works best for us and what is not for us, actually. And with that, we will now have an informed point of advocacy. So in this scenario, people were sharing stories, and I might shock you that the woman from, for example, in Ghana, where the Galamsey is ongoing, the illegal gold mining, she never knew that her son was suffering from the issue of coal mining due to mercury that is being part of the body system or the sun body system, and then causing a lot of defects or body defect for the child. And she never knew until when we exposed her to some of this information and knowledge. And she was weeping because she said she's been going to hospitals, she's been trying all kind of treatments for the son, but never knew that this actually is what has been happening. And that is also what we are feeling, that with coal mining in Lamu, for example, which we are against, is that we've seen scenarios where water bodies are being polluted because the extract from the coal mining usually goes to the ground, and then water bodies are polluted, farmlands are destroyed. And this is not sustainable for the community, whom most times local farmers and also drink from some of these waters that will be polluted. And so for us, we'll keep on strengthening this movement to ensure that we'll have people to speak and also to engage government in policy change, as well as also have a joint proposal writing and experts in technical grant writing, so that we'll be able to have funding that will support moving forward to renewable energy initiatives for the community. Thank you.
And definitely, like, together in solidarity, we can achieve more, and as a united front, we can be more effective. We wish you well. These are surely big pillars that you have to bring down as an advocate. So we wish you all the best, and whatever you can do to support, definitely we are here.
Thank you.
Perhaps we're coming to the end of this. We just wanted to get a bit of your reflection, because mankind has been called as a steward for nature conservation, biodiversity, management, and even taking care of our climate systems. As it is, man is not doing so well at it. I wonder, from a faith perspective leader, what are your reflections around the future of our climate system, our biodiversity, our ecosystems, and the very communities who are at the grassroots trying to do the most to get, feedback from the nature that they're exploiting?
Okay. I think one of my favorite quotes in the Bible is that said, "My people perish for lack of knowledge." And also, wisdom is profitable to direct, like we say. And so, if we need to educate people with the holy books, and also match it with the practicality, or will I say what we're facing practical on earth. If we can match that, then we'll go. It will help us to move further better. And because we're people of faith, and our faith also identifies with also taking care of your brother, or will I say ensuring that what you do to your brother is also what you wish for. And so with that, we should know that in every investment or any investment we're doing, if it's going to cause a harm to your fellow brother, then we should resist from it. And that is the best way to go. And looking at also the COP processes and also coming to an end, our push is that every year, okay, so I was saying that every year, the world GDP is over $100 trillion. And for us, if 1% of that could be for climate action, this will help triple renewable energy. And also, will make the earth just, fair, and equitable for all. Because climate injustices as a result of the spills as a result of oil exploration, as a result of extractives, has really led to inequality globally and more in Africa. And so if we can do this, that will help. The other aspect is that this also 1% will also help to compensate fully those whom climate change has rendered helpless. And we'll be able to compensate those communities to adapt to the impact in which this climate has caused. And so we're calling that the new finance targets, which is the NCQG, should include as a sub-goal the loss and damage to it, and also should bring equality in terms of 50-50 to adaptation and mitigation finance. That's our call. Thank you.
Amazing. And as you talk about your call, Piers, I can't let you go before you share some inspirations to the world. Like, there's someone who's listening to this, someone who wants to take action like you, there's someone who wants to be where you are, there's someone who wants to be at this global stage, and your voice could be the voice to inspire them. What would be your word of encouragement to them? Look to that camera and talk to them.
My word of encouragement will be that we are people of faith, and faith is a belief. So we need to create hope for the hopeless, and we need to ensure that justice is for the community and for the vulnerable people, especially those at the front or the front line of climate injustices in the world. So let us all act. Thank you.
Give hope to the hopeless and justice to the grassroots. It's been the amazing session with Piers Oko, Green Faith Africa, doing amazing work to bring about change in the continent and indefinitely all the countries that are in Africa. Being your wonderful host with Adnal Media, communicating impact for climate, nature, people, and development. Until next time, stay tuned, follow our pages, and support the content coming from these amazing change makers. Thank you so much.